Welcome back to the Spanish Sling, a podcast where we try to bridge the gap between Spanish and Singaporean companies and to encourage economic relations between them. Today, I'm delighted to present you our special guest, Sinuhé Arroyo, PhD. He's a founder and Chief Executive Officer of Singapore-based artificial intelligence TAIGER company. So, welcome to the Spanish Sling.
Thank you.
I'm sure you have a lot of vision behind the startup ecosystem. So what are the main differences between the Spanish and the Singaporean startup ecosystem?
I think there are a number of differences. First, I think there is a more deep tech-based startup structure in Spain. I see a lot more like in cybersecurity, in AI, etc., more there than here. Maybe just because of critical mass, right? Because there is more people in Spain than in Singapore. So as opposed to just going to the B2C, which is less technologically intensive, they might want to go to the B2B, which requires a lot more technology. So, the market's small, although Singapore Inc. and the government is quite big. But that would be one of the differences. The other one, I would say, is the amount of funding that is available for companies here. There is a lot of money. There is a lot of money from friends and family all the way to VCs. You have all the good VCs, not all, but the majority of them worldwide represented in Singapore. There is a massive push from the government to create a solid foundation, a solid base of startups. Singapore is all about people. There is no natural resources or anything. So technology is a natural fit for Singapore, and building this startup ecosystem is the natural fit to go forward in the future. And this economy is going to be very intensive in knowledge. So it's not just about IT, where we operate, or artificial intelligence. You see in food, in biotech, in every aspect. They are trying, even in quantum technology. There is a very prominent professor from Spain who is leading a lab here with a lot of funding, right? So Singapore is very keen, very motivated to build the ecosystem. Another aspect that I like to highlight, and we have benefited a lot from that, they have this program called accreditation by IMDA, the Infocom Media and Development Authority. So basically what it does is, when they understand there is a company with a differentiated technology, a product that the government is interested in buying, they are going to give you the green lane, which means that you have the kind of the right of first refusal in any procurement process that is related to that technology, to that product. So that eases the way a lot to sell into the government and get projects, right? So one thing is to say, yeah, we want startups. The other thing is to say, we are going to do things to make sure that the ecosystem grows and like we say in software, eat your own dog food, right? So you create these companies, you are the government, you are the first one that is adopting that, and that creates a lot of credibility. It's not easy to work for the government, it's quite demanding, the level of demand is quite high, but if you jump that hurdle, then it becomes very, very, in terms of brand and reputation, it becomes a massive thing. Because the reputation of the government of Singapore in terms of technology, in my eyes, is the most advanced government in the world. It's very high. It's very high. And people start to realize that is the case, right?
So, talking about the advantages of setting up a business or a startup in Singapore, that will be the highlight, that will be the main benefit, the help that comes from the government and the encouragement that comes from them as well.
Yeah, they have all these agencies, and the good thing is that they're all coordinated. They all talk among each other. There is one mission, right? Let's build the startup ecosystem across the board, across industries. Let's build it, because this is the future of Singapore. I mean, you have the refinery out there, and that's great. But as we all know, oil is fading out. So you have to create new ways to continue being relevant. And again, Singapore is all about people. So those soft skills, those technological skills, is the only thing that, in my eyes, I'm not the government, so I don't know the policy, right? But in my view, that's why things are happening this way.
And before setting up TAIGER here in Singapore, what was your major misconception about setting up a business here in Singapore?
Look, I came here when I was doing my executive MBA with Chicago Booth. They used to have a campus here, and it just I didn't even pay attention to it, right? as a small city, what does it have to offer?
Yeah.
And when you double click on it and you understand the dimension of the economical resources that Singapore has, the vision, I mean, I was defining the AI roadmap for the government of Singapore for the next 15 years. Which government in Europe does that, right? So this is the Chinese long-term planning, building legacy for future generations, and that, with all this political stability that this country has, allows us to really have a forward-looking view that spans beyond the next 4 years, right? So I think that's a massive asset, and probably just goes unattended to the see here, okay, beautiful buildings, let's go to the Silicon Valley. Oh, we can do great things here.
Yeah, so stick here in Singapore. And so you talk about some financial help that comes from the government. Which are the sectors that the government is more focused on helping and financing?
Well, the government is not going to by itself just give you money. That's not their purpose. They gave the policy, the direction. This is what we have. There are agencies that are going to implement it, and they are going to implement at different levels. So, for example, we talk about the Green Lane accreditation by MDA. They are trying to bring companies into Singapore from the Silicon Valley, from everywhere. That's also EDB trying to do that. Come here, and we see how can we help. But it's not like just because you come here, they're going to give you money, right? And that should not be transactional. I've been advising them. They come, I talk to ministers from time to time, and they say, how should we do this? Should we just put money on the table? I say, no, that's the wrong thing to do. People have to make the commitment to be here. And once the commitment is firm, okay, then if it fits into the direction we want to go, then of course start supporting them with everything. But don't just try to attract them just throwing money on the table, right? The accreditation is the other thing, right? It's a phenomenal thing, but it's not like you come here and you get accredited. What is the value that this company is creating for the country and the direction that we want to go? And if all things align, and then okay, sure. So they have that. They have different instruments that different agencies administer, and there is also the government funds administered through venture capitals. So you have at different stages. You will have like seeds, which is like really early stage, pre-revenue, etc., etc. Then you have SG Innovate, which is Series A and Series B. You have Heliconia, which is Series C and above. Before it was more private equity, but now it's more focused on technology as well. And then you have obviously Temasek and GIC, but those are different leagues, right?
Yeah.
Like 50 million and above of investment, etc., etc. So it's very well structured for the size of the country. Is very well structured in every phase that the company goes. There are government funds that you can tap into. They are not going to be the ones that lead the round, which is very important when you're raising capital. But having one of those gives you tremendous credibility, not only in Singapore, but again in the region. The whole region looks at Singapore as this is the guiding light. Yeah. Singapore is doing this, we're going to do it. And it's started to be also around the world, slowly.
Wow. And for people who have already a startup or is thinking about having one, which is the future of startups here in Singapore?
I think it's very bright. So you have, first of all, in terms of sales, right? We talk about support. Now let's go to the commercial part of the business. So you can really sell to the government here. They are spending a lot of money in technology and in any other area. But then as well you have what we call Singapore Inc. So it's all these Singtel and all these companies that are some way or the other own related very closely to the Singaporean government. So DBS and etc. Tapping into that can also help you build a relevant business. Now, we are talking IT. Will that be enough to build the large business that investors are going to want, etc., etc.? Probably not. But as a validation, as a starting point, you can validate your proposition, your product, your technology very fast in a very friendly environment that is very connected. And if you succeed, then you can start thinking, okay, now I'm going to export this, as we're doing, right? Going to the US, going to South America, going to UK or Germany or whatever countries you want to go. And you have that credibility, you have that validation.
Okay, and for everyone who may be listening, what can we do as companies, organization, businessmen, businesswomen? What can we do to improve the startup ecosystem? Is there any way?
In Singapore or in Spain?
Both ways. If you can answer both questions, that would be great.
the issue mostly with Spain is the availability of capital, the size of the economy, and the return that investors can expect based on those two parameters, right? Because it's constrained, everything is constrained. Obviously, valuations are going to be more depressed. Entrepreneurs are not going to be willing to take more risk, etc., etc. But what Spain has that is very powerful is that there is education remains very good. So there are very good engineers. We continue finding very good engineers in Spain. We operate there. We continue building a lot of technology, very good technology, groundbreaking technology in Spain. But then you have the constraint of saying, how am I going to grow this business? So we're building beautiful products. How we take them to the market? Not possible, right? Because the market is limited. You can, and for that you need money, right? So you can, like we did. We started in Europe and in Spain. And then we opened here and we started to grow and to grow and to grow, and we started to attract capital here. Would we have been able to attract the same amount of capital if we had been in Spain and drive the same level of valuation? No way, no way, no way. It would have never happened, right? So you have to find, it's not Spain or Singapore only. Maybe you start in Spain, you come to Singapore, and from here you go to the US, or you go wherever, and then you can continue driving your valuation, selling more, etc., etc.
Yeah, so it has always been flexible.
Yes,
and be prepared for everything.
There is no black and white. It's all very gray, and you adapt to whatever is happening.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for giving us ideas and giving us the whole vision of this startup ecosystem here in Singapore.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sinuhé.